I'm Jennifer from the Wooster branch of the Wayne County Public Library. In today's Tuesday Crafternoon, I have a new hand-stitched card pattern for you just in time to get ready for Valentine's Day. And that is this lovely vintage heart Valentine card. Now, as you can see, there's really just two colors to it, and there's two basic stitches. You've got these little starbursts that are pretty much just straight stitches. And then all of these different swirls around the border of the heart are reach stitches, and they all follow pretty much the same pattern. So once you do one, you've got the feel for the rest of it. What you need for this is going to be a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, cut in half this way. Fold each piece in half. And then the pattern, this is going to be a take and make kit. The pattern will be in the kit, and you will punch it out with an awl or beading awl or a large needle. Probably want to put a piece of cardboard underneath just to protect your work surface. You will also need floss, and I've got two kinds of floss, needles, scissors, and tape. And that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with these little starbursts just because I think they're nice and quick, and I'll give you a brief version of what it's going to be like. Now I've got 4 of them around the card. So I'm just going to open up here. And you'll see what we have are little fans and a little 6-way cross in the middle. So I'm going to start with the middle and then do each of the fans. I just have to find the right hole. And tape down my end here, because remember, we always tape down the ends. And so we've got 6 holes here around the middle. So I'm just going to go from one side to the other, come up the next hole, go back across, come up the next hole, and across. And that gives us that nice little snowflake cross here in the middle. Now I'm just going to go from each of these points around this little fan back to that bottom hole. So I'll start here, down to the bottom, go to the next one, down to the bottom, and that way I'm just going back and forth to fill that in. Now I will say, because you've got a lot of little holes, you really want to be careful. So bring your needle up through one hole and then just kind of check on the front. Is this exactly where I want to be? And in this case, the answer is yes. But keep checking all the way around, because you just never know. It's real easy to slip and come up the wrong hole, and then you have to undo a stitch or just go ahead and follow through and do something else other than what you'd been doing. And that's the first little fan of this starburst. So now I'm going to come to the next part and do the same thing all over. There we go. Now, while I said this is a pretty easy pattern to do, it is one you have to pay attention to, especially doing this part, because it's real easy to get lost in the blur of all these different little holes. So if it helps you to have the pattern close at hand while you're working on it, that's perfectly okay. That's really what I would recommend, actually, just to give yourself something to refer back to. All right, so you get the idea for that. And like I said, you're going to go all the way around one of these starbursts and then do the exact same thing on the other three. So I'm going to stop at this point and then I'll come back and show you how to do the different swirls. So I finished one of the starbursts and I'm ready to show you how to do the swirls. Now, like I said, the swirl is going to be a reach stitch, which is where you come up one hole, go forward a certain number of holes and go down, come up the next hole, and then go back the same number of holes as you went forward. So you're advancing stitch by stitch, going this way. The nice thing about this pattern is every single one of these reaches, all of these darker pinks going around, are a reach 4. So it's really easy to remember because they're the exact same thing every time. So I'm going to start up here at the top. And I like to start at the curl end of a swirl because it's a lot easier to see how you're building up that curve. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so we've come up at the very end of this swirl, and we're going to work our way around to this end. And like I said, it's a reach 4, so we've come up here, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 holes, and go down. And then I'm going to keep moving in this direction and come up the next hole. And this time I'm going back for 1, 2, 3, 4, and taking my needle down. Again, move forward 1 hole, forward 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and here you'll have to be a little careful because there's a couple of holes that are going to overlap on both swirls, but we're going to move forward 1, and back 4, and forward 1, and forward 4. Now, the reason why I like to start at this curled in end is because it's a lot easier to see that progression of stitches. If we were to start at this end, you can see everything just kind of blurs together. So if you're not quite sure how many holes you have to progress, start at this end and just take a look. And you're just going to keep doing this back and forth until you get to the end of your row of holes. And then you do the next curve. Now, as that curve starts to straighten out, you're going to find it's a little bit more tricky as you're going back to see how many holes you're going. So, you can kind of just push back your floss a little bit so you can see how many holes, and go ahead and put your floss through. Try not to get it tangled into a knot like I always seem to do. And on the back, it's just as easy to take a look and come up the next hole. And when you're moving forward, it's always easy to tell where you're going, because you're just going to the next available hole. Open hole, I should say, one that hasn't had a stitch in it. And that's the end of that first swirl. So what I'm going to do is just jump down to this one and work the next swirl. So I'll come down to this hole, come up, and again, I'm still doing the reach 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. And that's really all there is to this particular pattern. Once you know how to do one of these, and you know you're doing reach 4 for all the other swirls and lines and little things the rest of the way around, you've got it. It's just taking your time, following the pattern, and enjoying yourself. Now, as we've done in all the other stitched card kits, remember that when you get to the end of the floss, you're going to tape down the end on the back, like I did here in the middle of this starburst. And then when the whole thing is done, you'll want to cut a piece of paper and tape or glue it over the back of your stitching just to hide your work there, because it does sometimes get a little bit messy. Otherwise, this is going to be our take and make kit for January. I don't remember which date exactly, but it's probably around the middle of the month. As we've been doing, it'll be first come, first serve, and I do ask that people just take one kit per family to make sure everybody's got a chance to get a kit. If you're not able to get here in time to pick up a kit, we will have the pattern and instructions available in a notebook at the reference desk, and you can just make a copy from there. But I hope you'll get a chance to try this and share a little extra hand-stitched love this Valentine's Day. In the meantime, stay healthy, be kind, and as always, get creative. Bye-bye.